Hi everyone, it's Mark here again, and I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. I use these little video entries to keep track of our numbers, and we're rapidly approaching 90,000 members across 5 LinkedIn groups now, which is great. And this is the best fun for me. It's when I get to introduce you to one of our members. Matz, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Mark. I'm excited to be here to have a conversation.
You are one of our longest standing members, for which many thanks. And I think there are very few people who've been to more of our events than you have, which is wow. Great. So your backstory is quite incredible in the world of dance. I think I described you in one comment as the nicest man in dance. And we came up when we did the workshop together with some lovely phraseology that I know that you've been using, which is great. The one I particularly liked, and I think it was more you than me perhaps, it was that you help dancers step from stage to stage in their career. So, and I love the allusion to dance terminology, but for the benefit of those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you and getting to know you as I have, perhaps you could tell everyone who you are, where you are, what you are, and who you do it for.
Right. So briefly, my life, a potted version of my life. So I'm Swedish. I trained as a ballet dancer originally in Sweden and also later on in Russia. And I came to the United Kingdom in 1979 to pursue adventure, fame and fortune in the dance world. And I became a member of English National Ballet. And I danced with English National Ballet and some other ballet companies as well, Netherlands Dance Theatre, Rambert Dance Company, and the Royal Swedish Ballet, of course, where I started out as a young man in the 1970s. And then after my, I suppose about 25 years of dancing on stages internationally around the world and around Europe, as you do as a dancer, you come to an end of your sell-by date. So I had to seek other ways of continue within the profession. So I became a teacher, a tutor, a coach, and eventually an artistic director of 2 national ballet companies, the Royal New Zealand Ballet and English National Ballet. And now I work as a dance career guide and consultant, where I help people to be successful, basically, in our industry. That's what gives me a kick. That was always gave me a kick when I was an artistic director, to create an opportunity for someone to be successful. And now I can continue doing that in this capacity as dance career guide and consultant and coach.
Brilliant. That's a lovely summary. I do remember one of the phrases you used, which was very clever, when you were referring to your teaching that you do. I don't teach people how to dance. I teach people how to be a dancer. Very subtle difference, and extremely well put. So thank you for that. That's great. Wherever this appears, there will be links to lots more about you beneath. So, but what I'd like to do now is to create your perfect cultural year, and we're going to do that by me asking you a series of questions about your favorites in different art forms, and we'll see how it goes. It's somewhat experimental, but it's been successful elsewhere. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, do you have a favorite building? And if so, why?
Yes, that's a really tough question, because it's the function of the buildings that is important, I think. And of course, my favorite type of building is really a theatrical venue of any kind, really. Which one? I mean, if I had to pick a theater in London, which I really like from every point of view, is the Coliseum in St. Martin's Lane. It's a great theatre. It's got great sight lines. It's an excellent dance stage, particularly, and it's got really good acoustics. So as a theatre, the Coliseum, and I've spent many happy hours and months and weeks working within the walls of the Coliseum Theatre. So that would be the one.
Okay. So to paint the picture here, I want you to assume that there's a bench outside the Coliseum looking down towards Trafalgar Square.
Mhm.
and St Martin in the Fields, another lovely venue. And it's a sunny June day, and you're feeling extremely pleased because you've had some exciting news.
Right.
You're sitting in the sunshine, but you've been having a breather from a hard day of guiding people who are dancers at the Colosseum. And on your right is a book that you've been enjoying, perhaps for having read it several times before, and it's your favorite book. So what book would that be sitting on the bench next to you?
What book would I pick? Now, I would probably pick something which has very little to do with my dance background and my current activities. I'm a great reader of thrillers and whodunits and crime novels. I've got them on my Kindle. That's my sort of bedtime reading almost every night. So who would I pick? The Swedish writer Stieg Larsson wrote this fabulous trilogy about the girl with the dragon tattoo. Excellent thrillers, and of course, being set in Stockholm, my hometown, old, very familiar environment. So I would pick that trilogy. In fact,
Scandi Noir thriller.
Scandi Noir.
Yeah, I love the books, and I've loved the films as well. Rumi, who played the? I'm trying to think of her name. Rumi, somebody, but yeah, love that. Excellent. Okay. Now, on the left of you is a drink, and it can be anything you like.
Mhm.
It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so which is which is late enough for rum, if you wish.
Okay.
They say, don't they, if you drink gin at 9 a.m. in the morning, you're an alcoholic. If you drink rum, it makes you a pirate. So,
All right.
so what's the beverage of choice on your left there? It can be alcoholic. Don't be ashamed, but it doesn't have.
Well, as they say, the sun is over the yardarm at some point somewhere in the world. So,
Yeah.
it would probably be red wine.
Okay.
A reasonably good red wine, and not necessarily a sort of the top of the range, but something of reasonable quality. Yes.
Excellent. There you see, we've got this picture already. There's Matz Skoog sitting on a bench in the sunshine outside the Colosseum, reading The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or one of the sequels, with a large glass of reasonably good red wine next to him. Now, the reason you're in such a good mood is that you've been approached by a research organization, and they have offered to give you an all expenses paid year studying the culture of another country.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably wants to be one that you haven't resided in before. You're going to spend a year there, and you're going to come back and give a presentation on what that country's approach to the arts and culture. So what country do you think you'd choose?
A country which I haven't spent a lot of time, which I have visited on a couple of occasions, but I've never spent a lot of time in, is Japan.
Okay.
And I feel there is such a depth to their cultural heritage in all sorts of ways. Much of it lies way outside my understanding of how they do things. And I think that probably Japan, to study that and to understand what they do and why they do what they do, and see what we can learn from it.
Excellent. Japanese religion is a mystery to me. For example, that's something I'd want to know. Okay, that's great. So you've gone home and you've packed ready for your trip, and you're on the plane. Okay, you've just taken off on your way to Japan, and you've been asked to take an envelope from the research organization that you're not allowed to open until you're on the plane.
Right. Do I get to travel business class?
You do get to travel business class. Yes. And you open the envelope, and they explain that one of the conditions of this rather well-paid all expenses covered research trip into culture, is that you're only allowed to listen to one genre of music for the year.
Oh, okay.
Because they want to study the impact of that on you. So you have to choose which genre of music, which single type and genre of music you feel you could listen to at the expense of all others for the year.
This is unconnected to my trip to Japan.
It's a condition of the research grant. That you only listen to one genre of music for the year.
Doesn't have to be Japanese, though.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good.
It can be anything.
All right. It would be jazz of the sort of early 1960s sort of genre, jazz of that era.
A bit of Dave Brubeck, perhaps.
Dave Brubeck, the Coltrane, those sort of guys. Miles Davis, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll have kind of blue on repeat, won't you? Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, that's excellent. So now you arrive, and we're going to put you in Tokyo to start with. You will get the opportunity to travel around the country, but you're in Tokyo, and the research organization have placed at your disposal some hosts who are going to welcome you and introduce you and take you out. And the first thing they'd like to do is partly because of your background in dance, but they'd like to take you to a dance event. Now, the theatres in Japan are magical. They can produce anything at the drop of a hat. Okay, so you can choose a dancer if you wish, living or dead, a dance group or troupe if you wish, or otherwise you can choose a dance style, any of the above or all of them, so that you just press play and there it is in front of you for 2 hours.
Well, as it happens, when I arrive in Tokyo, also Netherlands Dance Theatre happens to be on tour, performing in Tokyo, and that would be the show I'd pick. The Netherlands Dance Theatre, which is a company that I've danced with myself, but also which I think is one of the finest dance companies in the world, for many reasons.
Excellent. Are they doing a particular piece? It can be anything.
Probably repertoire of Giri Killian, who was one of the great choreographers, who was the director and the choreographer of the company for many years. But also beyond his time, there's been a lot of new, interesting work done by the company. So
excellent. And you're going out to dinner afterwards. Your hosts are taking you out to dinner after the show, and you can choose any national cuisine you wish. What would you opt for?
Well, that's not difficult when I'm in Japan. I mean, Japanese food is, of course, superb. And I think, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do.
Right. So you're going for Japanese cuisine. Excellent. Okay. Now, that was Friday night. And the next day, your hosts have been instructed to take you to watch any sport you wish. It doesn't have to be a Japanese sport. It can be any sport that you'd like to go and watch. So what would you be leaning towards?
Now, I'm not a great sports person, follower of sports, but I did follow some of the recent Rugby World Cup together with people who are great sports fanatic. And
I'm not surprised.
Watching something like that together with people who really understands what they're looking at and are really enthusiastic makes it interesting. So why not a rugby game live, which is something I've never seen.
I went to the 2007 World Cup in Paris. We went the day before when we bought the tickets when we realized England were in the final against South Africa. sadly, we lost. England lost. But it's strange. It's a little bit like 1966, 2003, when England won the Rugby World Cup. Everybody who's a rugby fan knows exactly where they were when that kick went over. And I can remember who I was sitting next to even. But I'm an international rugby fan. I'm not so much a club fan, but yeah, I mean, and New Zealand, heavens,
Yeah.
World leading team from a country with a population smaller than London.
Well, as I said, I was recently in New Zealand and during the World Cup, so I was watching it together with New Zealand rugby fans. So
Fantastic. I can't remember who won in the end. Was it South Africa? Yeah.
They beat New Zealand in the finals.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so you've been to the rugby game, and there is a special opening that you've been invited to of visual art at a magical gallery in Japan, in Tokyo. And it is so magical that at the press of a button, they can put on the walls the entire output of one visual artist or sculptor. And it's arranged in chronological order, and you can walk around and follow the development of this artist's work from beginning to end. But you can only choose one artist. So who would that be?
It would have to be someone who spans the 19th and 20th century. Because early 20th century was such tremendous development in the arts in general, but certainly within the fine arts. For lack of a better idea, I would pick Picasso because he had such a tremendous, how his work changed over the decades is quite extraordinary. So just out of purely academic interest, he's a really interesting man to study, I think.
Yeah.
Even though I don't particularly like all of the stuff that he's done, I think some of it is wonderful, but then some of it is, whatever.
There's a lovely story about Picasso. I think we might have discussed it before, when he was sitting outside a cafe in Paris. An American tourist spotted him and asked if he would do a quick sketch of her on his napkin, and he did a kind of surrealist rendering of her and held it up, and she went to take it, and he said, "That'll be $10,000, please, madam." She said, "That only took you 30 seconds." He said, "No, my dear, it took me 60 years.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me, that story. It's an important thing to remember, especially for consultants. You might help somebody out in half an hour conversation, and they'll say, "Well, I'm paying you half an hour." No. You couldn't have done that without me, and I couldn't have done that if I hadn't been doing this for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's when you bring all of that expertise to one point. So excellent. Okay, so you can have Picasso, and the next night they want to lighten things up a bit, and they've invited you to go and see a play or a musical. And again, it's in the Magical Theatre, so you can choose any play or musical you wish.
It would be a musical. And Singing in the Rain.
Love it.
It's preferably the film version performed on stage, because that the cast in the movie, Gene Kelly and his cohort are just fantastic.
Donald
something, yeah.
O'Connor. Yeah. I played in I played the percussion part in the pit of Singing in the Rain with Tommy Steele, actually, in Birmingham as a percussionist. I was a replacement for one night, and I'm not sure whether this is indelicate, but it used to, the big thing about the show was that it actually did rain on the stage. And there were these huge vats of water that they had to fill up every day, up in the gods that would create this rain. And Tommy Steele was notoriously difficult and really quite unpleasant to the crew. And there were rumors that it wasn't just water coming down on him.
God.
Anyway, that I couldn't possibly comment further. Okay, so we've got Singing in the Rain. That's brilliant. The slapstick stuff in there, that was the hardest part for me, because, you know, is it Make 'Em Laugh? That's a number from Singing in the Rain, and I think the percussionist is all over the place. Make them laugh. You know, it's very, very, you know, you have to learn it. You can't read it. You have to learn it. And the difficult bit was where you put things, not playing them, you know, because if you can't reach it quickly enough, you can't play it. Anyway, I digress. So it's Magical Cinema Night the next day. Any film you like?
One of my favorite movies of all time is Cinema Paradiso, the Italian movie.
I think you recommended that to me last time.
I think
I did try. It's subtitled, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I struggled. I shall try again. But yes, I remember that from our conversation last time.
Another reason for picking that is one of the first dates I took my wife on was to see that movie. So yeah, it's got special importance.
My embarrassing date moment was I was very young, probably 17 or 18, and I took a girl to the cinema for the first time, and there were, from where you bought your ticket to where you handed it in was about 10 paces. But somehow between buying the tickets and getting to the usher, I lost them. So my date had to buy 2 more new tickets. It was terribly embarrassing. Anyway, that's great. And just to round this off, this section, with the exception of me, who was the last person to make you laugh?
Who was the last person to make me laugh? I can't remember. I'm trying to. I had a very quiet week, so I'm trying. Can't think back that far, but I'm sure someone must have made me laugh at some point.
I'm sure a family member will have done.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for doing that. That's your perfect cultural year.
Oh,
that's it.
I look forward to it.
Yes, wouldn't that be great? I should probably have these responses psychoanalyzed just to find out.
I'm not sure.
No, perhaps not. Now we're going to play the this or that game. I'm going to give you 2 options, and you have to choose one of them. And it's fast-paced, instinctive, and we'll work through these. Is that okay, Matz?
Mm-hmm.
So, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Radio or television?
Radio.
Car or motorcycle?
Car.
Comedy or horror?
Comedy.
Concert hall or sports stadium?
Concert hall.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Test the water or dive in at the deep end?
Test first.
Orange juice, bits or no bits?
With bits.
Library or museum?
Museum.
Beethoven or Mozart?
Beethoven.
Shower or bath?
Shower.
Cooking or being cooked for?
Being cooked for.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Fiction.
Shopping online or in store?
In store.
Sand or snow?
Sand.
Reggae or salsa?
Salsa.
Indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
Start immediately or wait until the last minute?
Wait until the last minute. Yes.
Yes. I'm a bit like that too. Science or history?
History.
New York or Los Angeles?
New York.
Black or white?
It's a tough one. Black.
Circle or square?
Circle.
Early morning or early hours?
Early hours.
Messy desk or tidy desk?
Tidy.
Plan it or wing it?
Wing it.
Bedroom door, open or closed?
Open.
Toilet paper, over or under?
Under.
Zombies or vampires?
Oh, vampires are much more interesting.
Red or white wine?
Red.
Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Numbers or words?
Words.
Rare or well done?
Rare.
Basketball or baseball?
Baseball.
Mild or spicy?
Spicy.
Opera or chamber music?
Chamber music.
Whiskey or rum?
Neither really, but rum.
North or South London?
North.
Gold or silver?
Gold. No, silver.
Silver. Football or rugby?
Football, soccer.
Mountains or beaches?
Beaches.
Sweet or savory snacks?
Savory snacks.
Abstract or realistic art?
Realistic.
Jazz or classical music?
Jazz.
Ballet or contemporary dance?
There's a tough one because I don't think there needs to be a difference between the two.
I'll change the question. Traditional ballet or contemporary dance?
Contemporary dance.
Right. Shakespeare or Chekhov?
Chekhov.
Hemingway or Fitzgerald?
Hemingway.
Jane Austen or Charles Dickens?
Dickens.
And finally, see the future or change the past?
Change the past, I think.
Okay. That was wonderful, Matz. Thank you for doing that. That's I really should get those psychoanalyzed. They always produce surprises and anecdotes, which these have done. So thank you again for being a good sport and recording this with me, and for being such a long-standing member of the Arts and Culture Network. Wherever this appears, there'll be links to find you and get in touch so that our members can do that. But don't dash off. But in the meantime, Matz, thank you so much for doing this.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you, Mark.